So tell me about Nala.
Nala is about, we think, 6 years old. I adopted her from CACC 2 years ago. She's great with humans, great with kids, great with babies even. She's very reactive with dogs, cats, small animals, of course, she wants to chase, like squirrels, pigeons, rabbits. When what happens when she sees a dog, so if we're a certain distance away, what happens is she will start to whine, and it seems like when I first got her, I was like, oh, does she want to play with them? But I was already under the impression that she wasn't that great with animals. She kind of just whines like she's scared. And then if, let's say, we turn a corner and there's a dog a lot closer than what she's comfortable with, then all of a sudden it's like a lunge, and she'll immediately go on defense mode and try to get at them, to lunge at them, to potentially bite them. I know that it's all fear-based though. You know, like one time I was sitting in my car to report my odometer reading for my car insurance, and she was like sitting like right next to me. Like I was in the driver's seat, and she was sitting on the grass, like the door was open, and I was just like writing down the number. And there was a dog far enough away that, you know, she was fine. Like she was just sitting there. But then she started whining, and then all of a sudden she jumped over me into the back seat, and then like put her paws up behind the window and then started barking. If she hears dogs outside, she'll run up onto my bed and look out the window and start barking at them. She's terrified of trains, skateboards, motorcycles, anything loud she's scared of. Loud people, like if there's someone like shouting, if there are people arguing outside, she'll start barking out the window at them. What else? Yeah, well, she's a little more comfortable around my parents' dog, but we still have to keep them separated. They have a split level house, so we have up a gate when I'm there for mostly just holidays. And as long as they're in, you know, if one's downstairs and one's upstairs, like they can see each other. There might be some barking like just at the beginning, but then, you know, she calms down and she's like, okay, I'm up there, he's down there, we're fine. We're able to sometimes have them in the same room, only if I have her on leash, only if he's an older dog. So if basically if the dog ignores her, that's like best case scenario. It's when another dog is also excited or on edge or aware of her, that's when there seems to be more of an issue or more fear coming from her. Yes. What else? Yeah. So what CAC told me when I adopted her was that CPD brought her in. She was incredibly emaciated. Like there was a photo of her when they first got her. She was basically just like spine and ribs. She was so skinny. She still had milk in her, so it was obvious that she had recently had a litter. They guessed, their vets guessed that based on her body, it looked like she had had more than one litter, so she might have been bred. And then I think that they said that she was so skinny that it didn't even look like she was a stray. It looked like she was like left somewhere and just like starved potentially, which makes sense because anytime I'm packing up for us to go home for, say, Christmas, if I'm like packing up my suitcase and like getting bags together, and then I like run them out to the car to put them in the car, and like obviously I'm going to put her in the car last because it's freezing out and all that, she'll start, if I'm like moving quickly, like if I'm running late, so I'm acting like a spaz and I'm moving quickly to get everything out. She panicked one time. She was like scratching at the door and barking, and like I could hear her all the way outside. And I was like, it's okay. Like she can see me on the street. Like every time I leave, she looks out the bedroom window at me and I have to wave goodbye. I'll be back. I love you. I'll be back, don't worry, you know, and I like wave goodbye to her. But if I'm like packing things to leave, she is definitely uneasy. So I think she has like an abandonment issue. Oh, what else? What else should I tell you? I work from home, so I'm usually home with her. Um, my partner is here, you know, probably like half the time. Um, and what else? I walk her because I can't let her off leash at all, or else, you know, like I just can't bring her to a dog park, obviously, because it would result in not a good scenario unless it was empty. I just give her really long walks, like 30 to 45-minute walks, 2 walks a day, and then like a quick pee before bed. And that's like her schedule because I don't have a backyard in this apartment. Um, but then we also play, like we'll play, I'll throw toys down the hall, she'll run after it and come back. We do a little bit of tug of war. She's not aggressive, like you know, like she'll play, but it's not, she's never like aggressive with playing. It's just like that fake, like, you know,
That's fine.
like the play, whatever, you know. So, yeah, that's about it. I've tried CBD. I've tried 2 other trainers. I can't remember. I can't remember their names, but I can tell you that one of them was at Urban Pooch.
Okay. Was this food based?
Yes. It was all
Food based?
yes, yes. Distract with the treats, distract, you know, focus on me. She's really good at if there's another dog and she starts whining, depending on like if the dog is going the same direction as us, I'll just like quickly lead her down a different way. If the dog is like passing us, so if like they're coming south and we're going north, I'll just have her sit and I'll have her wait patiently and I'll give her treats. And she usually will be able to tolerate sitting there and she'll just keep like checking back in with the other dog. And then, but if the other dog that's passing is like back at her with that same energy, yeah, then it's not as, she's not as calm.
Correct. What kind of collar is she on? Like a gentle leader or flat collar or harness?
Yes, so she has a regular collar that I hook up with the gentle leader. So it's a kind that goes like across the chest, over the back, under the stomach, and I hook it to both of the clips because if I only clip it to the gentle leader, what happens is that it can fall down and her front paw can kind of come out. So I have to hook it to both the neck and the chest part.
Okay, so it's the harness gentle leader.
I think that's what I have. Hold on, I'm just gonna. It's
Yeah, a front clip harness. Sure.
She's really chill at home. This is Nala.
She's cute.
She is.
How much does she weigh?
60 pounds.
60.
In the summer, when I'm not wearing a super bulky coat, sometimes like I got in the habit of doing this. Like if there's a dog in this one window and she knows this dog is always going to bark at her, she'll always be aggressive. She'll even like run up to it to be like, I'm going to bark at you first. And in the summer, when I'm have more movement available and I'm not in a huge down coat, I would just pick her up and walk past the window, and she was super calm. Anytime it's like heightened, really heightened, and if I just like pick her up, it's like calm.
Okay.
Obviously I can't do that all the time though, because she eventually starts to feel heavy.
Yeah, 60 pounds is a pretty solid weight.
Yeah.
And has so for instance, going back to the I would just categorize it as separation anxiety. Have you seen that since you got her, or is that something that developed over time?
Since I got her, she had it. She was she was worse when I first got her. So when I would leave for work, I remember the neighbors said that she would just like howl. She would just howl for a while.
Mhm.
But she doesn't do that anymore unless, like I said, it's like I'm packing something up or moving quickly.
Gotcha. Okay, so for the most part, you can leave now and she's fine.
Yeah, she'll look out the window and look anxious, but she's not barking.
Okay, and how long have you had her for?
2 years.
Years. Um, about how long into the 2 years did before you started to see she was getting better with you leaving?
Um, couple months, few months.
And then you said she's scared of trains, skateboards, and like rollerbladers or whatever, like fast
Yes,
moving objects.
yes, bicycles if they get too close. If they're further away, she's fine with them.
Does
Um,
she react to them, or does she just try to move away from them?
she tries to lunge at them. She
Okay.
tries to like attack them.
Okay. Doot, 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 doot. Dogs. Anything else?
Um, Off the top of my head, oh yes, we matched with a dog on Embark, and we think it might be one of her puppies potentially based on the age. So
Sure.
this we're excited. This dog is her name's Darcy, and I think she's around. They said they think she's around 2. They don't know if she's 2. I don't think it's Nala's, but maybe they are siblings from like the same parents. It says that based on the match, they're either direct siblings or child or parent. So I feel like they might know each other. And I'm wondering if you have any experience with reintroducing moms and puppies and if they recognize each other or not. And we would love to try to arrange like a meetup after, some sessions with you and see how she's doing.
Fertilizer. Okay. What was the percentage of the match?
I could look it up.
Yeah.
It's they're saying like this is a direct like sibling parent or child match, like it is. So the only way that they would have not met is if they came from the same parents in a different litter.
Right.
But let me see. I'm on the app here. Relatives. Here we go. It says immediate family as related as human, full siblings, or parents, children. 57% shared DNA.
Sure. So my girlfriend, she didn't bark for her dog, and her dog, it was similar. Where I guess with Embark, when it's above a certain percentage or whatever, they're like these dogs are related. And she found a dog that was related to hers, like out in directly west of us. I don't remember what the state is, but it's essentially directly west of Illinois because her dog is from Tennessee.
Okay.
Well, I think it was like New Jersey actually, because the people drove down from New Jersey to Tennessee to pick up their dog and drove back. So they were from the same place and they matched because it was like above 50% or something like that. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to like remembering and stuff, I don't have any experience with that. But from what I've heard, like, dogs, their sense of memories attached to sense of smell. So like, I'm sure, maybe on the internet, you've seen like where an owner loses their dog for like 4 years and then they reunite, and the dog is first kind of standoffish, and then you'll see the dog sniffing, and all of a sudden once the dog recognizes the scent, you see them start going crazy. So is it possible? Yes. Outside of my realm of expertise, especially now because Embark I think is relatively new, and that actually matching, from what I heard, is rare. Like matches like that, I think are still rare because not everybody does Embark or what have you. But I can definitely help you in the sense of like socializing her, with her potential family there. Okay.
Great. Okay, thank you.
So, from what I'm seeing here, the fear of like trains and skateboards and stuff doesn't necessarily mean that she's scared of dogs as well. I mean, it could be. Um, in terms of like the fear towards dogs and the reactivity, does she, if left to like be reactive, will she continue to lunge? And if she is lunging, have you ever seen a dog approach her? And if you have, what does she do? Have you ever had that?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. She will continue lunging until I get her out of there. Until I remove her from the situation.
Okay.
One time I was walking past a door and this other dog owner had a dog on their leash, but it happened so quickly that they like started to go at each other, and I was able to pull her away, but there was no backing down. Another time we walked past like a small fence, past like a like a seating restaurant area, and I didn't see that there was a dog sitting there, and she just like went right up to it, and the dog barked back, and I just, until I pull her away, she continues.
Okay.
She has had a run-in with a dog at a park by my house. This is when I first got her. All the gates were closed and I had her off leash so she could like run around and sprint. And then a dog got in super fast before I had time to notice and get her back on leash, and she beelined for him and just immediately started going after him, and the other owner was able to separate them, thank God. And there was no like damage, but it until one of us stepped in, like she would have kept going.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked that is typically with fear-based, reactivity and stuff, they don't move to, they move away. Okay. So reactivity can come from a number of places. It's reactivity is fueled by something, fear, anxiety, nervousness, a lack of just training, which is most of the time frustration. It can also be, especially with like younger dogs or puppies, reactivity is kind of like the equivalent of a child throwing a fit for a toy, And one thing for sure here is that the harness or the gentle leader harness, whatever, makes reactivity worse. Yeah. Okay. It's one of the most common things that I see, which is why I asked that question. Because dogs have this thing called opposition reflex. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
That when they feel pressure, they go against it.
Yeah.
Right. So with the front clip harness, or the no pull harness as they call it, which is actually an oxymoron because harnesses are meant for pulling. Carriages pull. Not carriages. Horses pull carriages, and they have harnesses on the horses, and they don't use the harness to control the horse. They use that bridle that goes on the head, because if you control the head, you control the body. So with the harness, they're meant for huskies to pull sleds, or for dogs to pull really heavy tires in like the competitions that they do. Harnesses are terrible for walking dogs and for training purposes. Okay.
God, it's so crazy. Like everything, like I watched your videos and I was like, wow, like this guy, he knows what he's doing. And then I didn't hear that part in any of your videos. And then just hearing this now, it's like, that's the exact opposite of what I've been told and what I've been doing. And so.
Yeah, it's because, so in the dog training world, there's a lot of drama. The most popular form of training is of course positive only. And a lot of it's just like agenda based. Trainers like myself are often targeted by that wing of dog trainers, which is interesting because, so in positive only, corrections are looked down upon. You're not supposed to be mean to your dog or whatever. However, they will tell you to put your dog down if they can't fix the problem. So it's kind of like, don't correct your dog, and then when it's like, hey, it's not working, they're like, just put your dog down. Like it's really stupid.
Yeah.
So the reason why people push those things and like big corporate and stuff is it makes people feel good to think they could fix something using positive only.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an easy sell. It's just
I'm
about
familiar with the collars that you use. I don't own any yet.
Mhm.
But my father and my brother have had hunting dogs.
Yep.
And they've trained to go pheasant hunting, and so they've trained with the system. I think similar to what you use.
Yeah. So the collars that we use, the e-collars, come from hunting. That is exactly right. And we use those exact same brand. The exact same brand. There's a number of them, but a big one is Dogtra. And Dogtra is the brand that we use. In my opinion, it's the best collar there is, or brand of collar. So it's really just like a lot of guilting and shaming of people that use those tools, you know, and they'll say like you're shocking your dog or you're electrocuting your dog, and that, you know, you shouldn't need to be mean to your dog to fix any, you know, problem. But in my videos, like you don't ever see me or the client being mean,
Right.
you know, because it's discipline,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I was raised old school. I was spanked.
Okay.
Spanking hurts, and if one saw my mom spanking me, they could say that woman just hit her child.
Yeah.
Right? To make it to construe the context, right? To make my mother look bad.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to ask me, I would say, yeah,
I
I
was
got
an asshole. I deserved it.
I earned it, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
stop doing that behavior. That's what aversives are meant for.
Right.
Okay. So when we look at dogs, have you ever seen another dog give a dog a treat?
No.
Have you ever seen another dog praise another dog for good behavior?
No.
Right, because they don't do that.
Right.
Now, I'm not against those methods
Sure.
because we're humans and obviously we're capable of more things. And yes, those methods are effective for things. Positive reinforcement is good for things you want to see again.
Mm-hmm.
It does not work for things you don't want to see again.
Uh-huh. That makes
Okay.
sense.
So if I got out of line, my mom didn't say, "Hey Jesse, here's a piece of cake. Don't do that again."
Right.
It
Right.
was, you get spanked, and if you don't want that spanking to happen again, you're not going to repeat that behavior.
Yep.
So we actually learn more from negatives than we do from positives.
Got
Okay?
it.
And you can look up quotes where it's like, we learn more from failures than we do from successes,
Yeah.
right? Because failures, and then with humans, it's more complicated, but with failures, there's usually like, there's a negative, right? So you overcome the negative and it makes you more wiser, blah, 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 blah. So for dogs, dogs are masters of positive punishment, because in your case, like let's say when that dog came too close and she confronted, right? And then it escalated into a scuffle. That's, you know, she was essentially saying, back off,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what we would call positive punishment, because she added something negative to the other dog to get that dog to try to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So amongst dogs, when they correct their puppies, and they correct their puppies as young as 3 to 4 months, they bite them, they nip them, you know, and it's discipline. It's
Yeah.
not the mom intentionally trying to hurt the puppy for the sake of hurting it. She's like, you need to learn a lesson. I'm going to bite you. Don't do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the methods that we use stem from that psychology, which is why not all trainers are as effective, because someone can use positive punishment, but if used incorrectly, or if they don't understand the concept well or understand how dogs think, even though another trainer uses e-collar, they could screw up the dog or they could make no progress.
Sure.
Okay? Because I train a lot of other trainers' dogs, and I train a lot of dogs that are actually already trained on e-collar because it wasn't taught correctly.
Okay.
So but going back to like all that, you know, with the two trainers and the food-based stuff, that's why you still have problems with knowledge behavior. Okay. I'm not opposed to food. We use food here. We use food for all our puppies under 6 months because it's like kindergarten stuff.
Sure.
But this has only happened a couple of times in my career. I know 2 off the top of my head, maybe a few more, like a handful. But I've gotten puppies that were genetically wired to be highly aggressive.
Ooh.
Okay, so one of them was a 3-month-old. When I showed up, was 3 months. It was an Australian cattle dog,
Mm-hmm.
and the lady, and we know absolutely because people always talk about abuse with these things and puppies, is this lady volunteered at a rescue. They had rescued the mother. The puppies were born at the rescue. She actually helped whelp all the puppies. She helped raise all the puppies, and she took one home at 2 months. So she was there the entire time.
Yeah.
And that puppy was screwed up. Okay. It's just genetics.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I came in, even though the puppy was only 3 months old and I would typically only do food, I was like, this is a problem. And that puppy actually bit me really good. Like took a chunk out of the side of my stomach and had bit the husband 2 times and I believe bit the son 3 times by the time I showed up. Yeah. So, that was just genetics.
Yeah.
So in very rare cases, I'll come in and go like, your puppy is under 6 months. I usually wouldn't do this, but this is going to be a problem. We got to start that now.
Sure.
Okay. But after 6 months is when most dogs or puppies that I train are moved to e-collar, and then we do what I call big boy, big girl training. So the reason why these methods are effective or more effective is because we can talk the dog's language. So e-collar, and I know you have some familiarity with it, is a miniaturized TENS unit, if you're aware of what TENS units are.
The prong?
A TENS unit?
No, I'm not familiar with that phrase. I'm familiar with e-collars, but not with that phrase in particular.
Okay, so if you go to a chiropractor or a physical therapist, they have a machine that's called a TENS unit, TENS. You can even go to Walgreens and you go in the back or the pain management section, and you'll see it's the TENS units, and they look like little bones, and you put them on your back, and they move your muscles to help relax back pain.
I've had that done to myself before.
Yeah, that's a TENS unit. Okay, that's also an e-collar. Okay, because some people, especially when you hear words like shock collar, right, or electrocute your dog, you're thinking it's electricity. Okay, it's not like a taser. It's not like sticking your finger in an outlet. It's a centralized current that only moves the muscle or stimulates the muscle it's in contact with.
Gotcha.
Now, the dog version of TENS units, in my opinion, are more refined than the human version. In the human version, there's risk of electrocution if there's water. 2, if you have a pacemaker, they cannot use it because of something with the currents. And then 3, there's also risk of electric burn if they don't keep an eye on it and they don't set it up correctly. Okay, we don't get the e-collars.
Yeah, I'm like, I've had that done.
Yeah, which obviously, if it's an office or a medical office, whatever, they know what they're doing. But if put in the wrong hands, there's dangers to it. But with e-collar, fully waterproof, it won't burn the dog. And I've worked with dogs with heart murmurs, dogs that have had seizures, dogs with medical conditions, and they're all perfectly fine.
Right.
Okay. So the way I refer to the e-collar is a bite on a button. Okay. So after we've conditioned the dog of what the e-collar is, it becomes a line of communication, and biting is a line of communication, right? So let's say I'm socializing dogs at my daycare, and a lot of my dogs here are former clients that are e-collar trained, and the play starts to escalate and get too intense. We can calm down the play by simply giving them a little nip or bites on the e-collar to calm them down. So we prevent the escalation that would potentially lead to a dog bite if left unresolved. Okay, because we're saying bite, cut that out. That's too much energy. Okay, let's say I'm walking my dogs off leash. They're getting a little bit too far. I don't want to call them because I don't need them to come all the way here, but I just need them to come in a little bit closer. I can press the button, give them a little nip, and that tells them, hey, you're too far, come in a little bit closer. Okay, so it becomes a line of communication.
Got it.
People usually think when we talk about prong and e-collar that it's like come in and then make the dog scream and yell. Okay, that's not how it works. Okay, the first thing that I would do here with Nala is train her how to walk correctly.
Right.
Okay, so a lot of reactivity stems from not knowing what to do, not having a reference point. So my style of walking would be if I take 5 steps, she takes 5 steps. If I take 1 step, she takes 1 step. This is with a completely slack leash, and I don't care what the environment is. Okay. When you have that level of focus, one, it takes a lot of discipline to achieve that. Okay. And when I talk about discipline, I'm talking about like e-collar. So when I'm shaping this behavior, we're using the e-collar to nip and bite at her to tell her we don't want you to do that, and then she's got to figure out what she needs to do instead. Okay, but when you bite a dog, you also calm them down. Okay, so most dogs aren't disciplined in a manner that they understand.
Mm-hmm.
Most people will like clap and, hey, don't do that, right? Or they'll put them in a kennel for timeout, or they'll shake a can of pennies, or they'll spray them with the water bottle, right? None of those things work because they're not physical or physical enough to deter behavior.
Sure.
Right? Because dogs bite each other.
Yeah.
So why would and I've seen people on the streets like take their dogs and scold them like they were a little child. And I'm just like, you're really just like, you're having a full-on conversation with your dog. Like, really, you think the dog's listening to this? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because we have to talk their language. Okay. And that's why the methods that we use are very effective, because they're shaped from how dogs learn and how they communicate. Okay. So what I would expect to see here is we have the first class. We would teach Nala how to heel, which also teaches her how the e-collar works, how it turns on, how it turns off. It also teaches you how it works. Mm-hmm. And then I see you a week later and I go, how was it this week? And then of course you're my feedback. So the e-collar heel fixes like 70% of problems.
Amazing.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it fixes 70% of problems because most problems come from the lack of discipline.
Yeah.
So instead of targeting the problem, I go, I know what we have to deal with, but we're going to use this because worst case scenario, the dog needs to have a reference point. Okay. So most people slap the collar on their dog, they go outside, and when their dog is being bad, they'll remote them. Okay. That's the worst way to go about it because the dog doesn't know what to do instead. So we have to teach the instead part, which is the walk at my side. So if like I'm walking and I see a dog and I'm caught off guard and she lunges and I remote her, she's gonna think, oh crap, and go back and come close to me.
To your side.
That's a reference point, right?
Got it.
Which, but at the same time, the consequence should also deter the behavior. So then what happens is when she backs off, she goes, oh, she's like, I saw the dog, I lunged, I got bit for it. When I came back, the dog kept going, but nothing happened. Okay, and we start building on this. And the next thing you know, she goes, oh, I can watch a dog and not have to lunge and bark.
Yes.
Okay, now let's say we get a dog that lunges back at her.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very common. So reactivity is a spectrum. Reactivity towards humans, like construction workers, skateboarders, rollerbladers, and all that stuff, tends to go away first. Okay. Reactivity towards calm dogs is next. Excited puppy type energy is in the middle. Other reactive dogs, and then when you turn the corner and you see a dog, are end of spectrum.
Gotcha.
Okay. Because if you turn the corner, there's a dog, it's very abrupt. Okay. So you can't plan that. No. If the other dog becomes reactive to her, in her mind, it's technically valid to be reactive back because that dog is throwing out threat.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like if you're walking down the street and someone starts yelling at you and you're just like, what the hell? Right. Some people might yell back, like, what's your problem?
Right.
That's that conversation. So it's not that we can't fix it. It's just that those tend to take longer.
Sure.
Okay. So like me growing up, you know, my mom was like, if kids bully you or, you know, are mean to you, you don't reciprocate. Right. You go tell an authority or whatever. In her world, she doesn't have that. Right. But you can still disagree with it. So she goes, if a dog lunges at me and barks at me, it doesn't mean that I can do that back because I would still get a consequence.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it won't make her not like the dog. And if anything, she already doesn't like the dog. So you know, it's like, what problem are we going to create anyways? Right. So we start to build off each week. The first week, is the basis. The second week, I go, where are you at? And you'll say like, hey, Jesse, she was great. She saw a lot of dogs, very little reactivity. But when a dog lunged at her, she was becoming reactive. Then I go, okay, good information. We're going to make a couple of adjustments and we're going to work on the second half of heel. And then the third class, I go, how'd it go? And you say, hey, Jesse, it was even better. but we struggle with this now. I go, all right, we're going to make this adjustment and we're going to start applying that now. And we're going to move on to the next thing. Okay. Because correcting behavior is simple. If the exercise of heel doesn't fix the problem, then we need to correct it for the behavior itself. So for me growing up, if I didn't do my homework, if I talked back to my mom, or if I didn't do my chores, spank, spank, spank. Right? One consequence for a multitude of behaviors. Same thing for dogs, right? If a dog mounts another dog, gets too much in their face, or tries to jump on them, bite, bite, bite to stop the behavior. Okay. Yeah. So once you understand that concept, it's easy to go out, and then it's just a matter of what intensity are you going to need to not do that behavior again. Mm-hmm. Okay, because every dog is different. I don't know what Nala is going to be. It could be super low, it could be super high, it could be in the middle. That's what we learn as we progress with her. Okay. With the training, we do start low and then we work our way up. Okay. So I think with because you said you had the TENS unit, correct? You had the stimulation therapy.
I've had that before, yes.
Yeah. So I'm assuming they started low and then they worked their way up, and they said, hey, tell us when it's too much. And then you told them, and then they would lower it. And then you would say, that's comfortable, right? Uh-huh. Same thing for dogs.
Right.
Okay. We start low, we work our way up. And then we want to find that magic number that's low enough that we're not getting like yelping and all that stuff, but high enough that she's actually respecting what we're trying to teach and ultimately opting to make other decisions.
Right.
Okay. So with reviewing, so the reactivity on leash, that's going to be done with the heel. And then we just kind of check up on that each week, and that we make adjustments. If it ends up being more difficult than I anticipated, which can happen, there's a lot of different approaches to stopping the behavior. The only thing that will get in the way of your success is how far you're willing to go.
Okay.
Okay. So my e-collar goes to 127. Okay. There's other models that like go to like 10, for example. 10 and 127 are the same.
Got it.
I have 117 more divisions.
Got it.
So let's say, we're working with Nala, you're making great progress, but like you're struggling with a little bit. And I tell you, you need to remote her at 95 when she becomes reactive. Yes. And then I see you the following week. And I go, how'd it go? And you're like, Jesse, it wasn't a good week. She was very reactive. I would ask, how high did you go? 45. 45 is not 95. We're not going to stop the behavior if not willing to go there. Okay. Right. So that's what makes me an effective trainer, is that my job is to fix the problem. Mm-hmm. And I will fix the problem. But then the owner has to reinforce that, because then the dog will learn, hey, when Jesse's around, it's no joke. But when Jesse's not around, you won't. Get rid of it. Right. Okay.
That makes sense.
So
follow through.
Obviously, so I've built my career on e-collar. I've been doing this for 10 years, and I train solely with e-collar after a dog is 6 months. I don't do any other method anymore because there's no point to it. Okay. It's the most effective training method. So if I was hurting dogs, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
Okay. So that's a really big factor, is that people tend to give the dog the opportunity to be a good dog. And I use every opportunity to make them be a good dog.
Yes.
Okay. So as long as all that's going well, then we just continue with obedience and control, depending on how much control you're looking to get. Let me see here. In order to get to the socialization phase, socializing a dog is simple, but don't expect that a dog could randomly just come up to Nala and then she'll be best buddies with them.
Right.
Okay. So some dogs are capable of that. They're happy-go-lucky. They love everyone. They love everything, which is kind of the impression that people have of dogs, right? They're like, oh, dogs are these friendly creatures that can do no wrong. They love everything. Right. And that's not how it works. Okay. So what I have is a very structured way of introduction. And just like with humans, like we don't just meet people and become best friends. Right. Like that can happen where you just click, right? But it's the course of time and knowing someone for years where you develop strong bonds, right? It's the same thing for dogs. Yes, some dogs can just go to a dog park and play and they're good. But then there's other dogs that maybe the dog park is too much because there's too many dogs, there's too many personalities, there's too many unknowns. But they can socialize with a singular dog or a couple of dogs that they've met several times before.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to get the reactivity and all that stuff under control first. Once that's under control, then we progress to socializing. Okay. Which you could even make that be a session where they brought their dog and then we had Nala and I show you how to introduce them. And then you would keep repeating the exercise. So sometimes it's happened where the dogs at the end of the session are already playing. It can happen. There's other times where they won't do it on the first time, but on the 20th time, they'll finally start playing. Okay. Because they need more time to build trust. Other times people could do it 100 times and it just doesn't work.
Okay? I'd be interested in working with my brother's dog too, because their dog is 7 and will probably live at least another 7 years. It's a young, it acts like this young puppy. It's a black lab trained to hunt, so it also works with e-collars. But they had a negative run-in when I first got her, and so I'm wondering if you have any experience of, oh, like our dog had a negative run-in with this dog. Will those two dogs ever be able? Awesome. Yeah, I would love that. I would love to work with my brother's dog.
The only thing would be if that dog is an excited puppy type energy, it's gonna be harder for her because if she's already antisocial, ideally the best personality are calm, indifferent personalities.
Yep.
Old senior dogs.
Okay? Yeah. My parents' dog, that would work.
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer he's gonna be around.
It's okay. Yeah.
He's old.
What's good is that because you said your brother's dog is trained on remote, correct?
Yeah, when they have the collar on her, all they have to do is give it a beep and she's like, oh, okay.
Sure.
They do the beep and then the buzz.
Correct. So, which is a very common style of training, especially with hunting dogs. But what would make that more feasible is because they actually have control over the dog. If it was an untrained dog, I would say you want to save that for later because there's no way of tapering down the energy.
Sure, for sure.
So, but yeah, because even if there's been a negative run-in, it's all about experiences. So once she's under control, once she's calm and passive, and then we do things in a structured fashion, it can potentially change her opinion on how she feels. Just like with people, right? You could have a bad experience somewhere and then go back again and have a really good one, and it'll kind of counter your old experience, right? And if you continue to have good experiences, then you kind of just shrug off that one bad one. So same thing for dogs, okay? So when it comes to, let me see here, separation anxiety is not so much a problem, so that's fine. So when it comes to length of time and cost and everything, it just comes down to how much control you want.
Yep.
Okay. So the way I approach this is, you tell me about your dog, and like your needs and stuff, and then I look at it and I go, okay, at minimum, this is what I would suggest, and then this is what you could achieve if you wanted more. Okay. So she's more in the realm of my 6, 9, or 12-week programs.
Got it.
If you did six classes, the way I would divvy them up is the first 2 would be on heel. Okay. We want to see what does that fix. If we're making great progress with the heel and the reactivity, by class 3, we can start socializing. Okay. Now, if we're going to try to socialize her, you want a muzzle trainer. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And you want to start that process today. So if you don't have a muzzle, you can order it. Obviously, be there in a couple of days, but you want to start.
I have one. I hardly use it. I do have one.
Is it a basket or a mesh muzzle?
Basket.
Good. So we have videos and I'll make a note here for Maria to send them to you. And if she doesn't, you can ask her for them.
Okay.
But we have videos on how to muzzle condition.
Okay.
And like, let's say she tolerates it now, you still want to condition because she'll tolerate it, but then you have to consider that we're going to factor in a stressor.
Yeah.
Right. So the muzzle takes away her primary source of defense. So she could be fine with it. And then the moment a dog comes in, they're trying to tear it off because they're like, I need to be able to defend myself.
She usually just tries to take it off.
Yeah.
Even if we're just home.
She'll try to remove it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then with muzzle conditioning, that's done with food, which I use high value stuff like, cheese or whatever, or you can even use her dog meals, which are in the videos that Maria would send you.
Okay.
So this way, when we hit class 3, having that muzzle on makes everybody feel better. It makes whose dog we're going to use makes them feel good that like, okay, if something happened, my dog is safe.
Yeah.
For you, it helps remove the anxiety of like, what happens if she tries to attack the dog?
Sure.
Right. So, and you would use that muzzle for as long as needed.
Okay.
There's no law to the muzzle.
Okay.
Some of my clients are like just so paranoid about their dogs that they muzzle them, and their dogs are great. But it's just they're so traumatized. They're like, I'd rather just have it on my dog, and my dog is fine with it, and know that just nothing could happen.
Yeah.
Fine. I get other clients that use it in the beginning, and then once they find that their dog is completely fine with the other dog, they'll then remove it for that specific dog, but they'll keep using it for new dogs until they get to that point.
Got it.
Okay. And some of my other clients, a small percentage, just completely move past it. Okay. So I don't know how it's going to work out. Nala knows that. Okay. Yeah. It also comes down to how much you're able to actually practice socializing her, because that's a big factor as well. Okay. So by class 3, I would teach you the socialization exercise. And once you learn it, it's like, this is it. And you can just do it on your own time when you get opportunities. If you have other personality types that you want to use and you'd rather use your classes for that, you could do that as well. But from experience, typically once the owner has learned that one lesson and of how to do it correctly, they're pretty much fine.
Right.
Okay. The only time they do it with more lessons is if they're going to work with a dog, like let's say if your brother's dog, that's more high energy. Sure. Because it's going to be different. It's going to be more difficult. But in most cases, once you understand it, it's pretty straightforward. Okay. Yeah. The next thing. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I would definitely consider using a session with my brother's dog, and then based on the comfort level of this embark match, if they're comfortable with me just leading through it, great. And if they would rather have you there just with the comfort of knowing, oh, there's a trainer there.
Right. Maybe
that would be an option.
Yeah. Yeah. So, because you pay for my time, I just simply show up. Okay. So, but yeah, and especially with your brother's dog, because if that dog is higher energy, that's the most difficult.
Okay.
So if we do that and it goes relatively well, like it really can't get harder than that unless the other dog were to be reactive as well.
Sure.
So then after that, the next thing would most likely cover is like just how to correct behaviors, like, the barking in the car. Maybe if the leash reactivity, like you're still having issues with like certain parts, how to apply corrections and like the different styles of correction, harsher corrections, and all that stuff. And then the next thing would be that would leave like 2 classes left, seeing everything goes well, is I'd most likely cover recall.
Okay.
Or come when called, because the 2 most important commands are walk with me and then come when I call you.
Yep.
Okay. In case, she were to get off leash or whatever. But also, if you wanted, e-collar gets you off leash control. It's just a matter of how much homework or how much do you actually practice.
I would love off leash control. My parents live by some of the largest forest preserves in Cook County, and there are these amazing fields and trails, and like I would love to give her the opportunity to sprint, because I can't keep up with her, and I'm fast. Like she's really fast. So that's definitely I would love to have it an off leash training.
Okay. So the recall gets you into that realm. Okay. So if you did, so that's with the 6 classes. So the 6 classes, I go bare bones. I know this is what you need. Okay. If you wanted to do or achieve more, then we have the 9 and 12-week program.
Okay.
So the way I describe it is the 6-week program is I walk my dog, we go to the dog park, and that's it, right? The 9-week program is I walk my dog, we go to the dog park, and I go to restaurants. And the 12-week program is all that stuff, plus we go hiking, plus we go swimming, we go to the dog beach, we do all this stuff, right? So it's a lot of off-leash stuff. So then you need complete control.
Got it.
So then we would teach all the commands: sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. So 6 commands, and build them up to off-leash reliability as long as you do your homework. Okay?
Yeah.
The variable to that is just her behavior.
Okay.
Okay. So like, let's say for whatever reason, reactivity took 4 classes, right? And we did like a 12-week program. Well, typically it takes 12 classes to just get dogs to be off-leash reliable. That's not including the behavior, right? Is we may not end the 12-week program with everything covered because we spent more on reactivity than we thought we were.
Sure.
Okay. So then you decide, you know what, Jesse, I'm really happy with where I'm at. This is good. Or you say like, you know, I would like to get this to complete control. Then I would say you just need 3 more classes or whatever. And then we would just enroll you for more.
That was my next question then, is like, if I said I want to start with 9 and then go from there, is that an option, or do I like to just do an add-on for the rest of the weeks?
So it is an option, but in order to get the discount, you have to do the program. Okay. So like,
okay.
the more you like the longer the program, the cheaper it is per class. Right.
Okay.
Because if someone says, yes, I want my dog off leash trained, I'm going to pay for 12 classes, there's a discount, right? Or I get some people that say, I'm going to do 6 now and then see what I get, and then I'll potentially do the other 6, right? So if they pay for 6 and then they pay for another 6, they're paying the same price. There's no prorated rate. Okay.
Got it.
Now, I ultimately don't care what people do, but this is for the sake of my calendar, because we have to plan my calendar ahead.
Sure.
Okay. But 9 is a good number.
Oh, okay.
9 is
my next question. That's good. I definitely want to do at least 9. My next question is if I did go 12, is it pay all up front, or could there be like a payment plan?
Yeah, we have a payment plan. It's a half down as a down payment.
Okay.
And then I think it's half, which leaves so if it's 2,000, it's 1,000, and then it would be 500, I believe. I can't remember what it is, and Maria does all the accounting stuff.
Okay.
But she can break it down for you. Okay. But there is a payment plan. The way we've structured it is so that I've had people in the past where they would do payment plan, and then the way we had invoiced it is they would just kind of fall off the map and get like an extra class in there. So then I lost money, which I don't care, other than I have employees to pay.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure the way that we invoice it puts us ahead, so that this way, if you decide like to just disappear, like I'm not at a loss.
Sure.
So, but other than that, yes, there is payment plans. And then other questions?
I don't think so. I guess do I have to decide that right now, or can I just? Okay, great.
You mull it over. You can take a week. You can take a couple of weeks, whatever, and then email Maria. There's no rush.
Between 9 and 12, it's just.
Yeah. Again, I know it with at least 6, I can get it done. The problems that you're having. The 9 to 12 is just if you want more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course I will.
Because people's ceilings tend to be really low.
Yeah.
You know, especially like, you know, because food-based training is so positive, but food-based training is almost always not successful.
Yeah.
So people think, you know, well, I'm okay with just this. I'm like, but we can get way more than that because of the method that we're using.
No, the idea of bringing her out to like the woods by my parents' house and having no problem just sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The comment, you said she's 60 pounds, correct?
Correct.
So the collar I'd recommend to you, and Maria will send you this information.
Yes.
Is the Dogtra 1900S Black Edition.
Okay.
It's the most powerful collar.
Okay.
Okay. It's meant for 70 pounds and over.
Uh-huh.
And the reason why I recommend it is because you're dealing with reactivity.
Okay.
So you don't want to gamble, am I going to have enough power to shut this down if needed?
Right.
Okay. So this way, because she's technically, there's 2 collars that she could technically use, but one of them is 70 and under. So it's not as much power. So then I would hate for you to like have a bad moment and be capped out and it's not phasing her.
Yeah.
Okay? Which can happen. So with that particular model, the 1900, you're good.
Okay.
I'm not worried about, especially with her size, I'm not worried about if she kicks into reactivity, is it going to be a problem?
Got it.
And then you can get those on Amazon.
Great. Okay.
It's a fully waterproof system, 1 mile range. And it's meant for dogs around her size, but even bigger.
Okay.
One of the most common questions that I get is, when does the e-collar go away?
It doesn't.
So in my book, it doesn't when you need it. Okay. If she's a great dog inside the house and she barks out the window every now and then, you don't need it.
Right.
If she's going to be outside walking on a leash, off leash anywhere, for sure, you want to have it. Yep. If you're going to be socializing her, you're going to want to have it. And the analogy that I use, because people always ask, like, well, if you're so good at training, why does the dog need the collar? Right? Because training implies it will end at some point. So for humans, you drive?
Yeah.
You go the expressway?
Yeah.
Do you go the speed limit?
No.
Most people don't. Right?
I usually go at least I had a relative who was dating a cop, and they said, as long as you go under 10, you're never going to get a ticket.
Right. But it's meant to be 70.
Right. But
Right?
I'm under 10, as long as you stay just less than 10 over, you're good. Like if you go like, if it's 70 and you're going 80, then you could get a ticket. Or if you're going over 80, then you can get a ticket. But if you go 78, you're good.
Yeah. So it's like a gray area, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it's opportunistic behavior.
Okay.
Because we know if there's no cops around, how am I going to get a ticket?
Right.
Right. But as soon as you see a squad car, what happens? Slow down, because now there's threat of consequence. So that's what the e-collar is. I look at it as a cop on a collar.
Yep.
When the dog's got the collar on, the dog knows, okay, I can't do my BS like I normally do.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a consequence. Yeah. And then when you remove it, or if you're to walk her without it and she sees a dog, very much likely she's going to be reactive. Right? Yeah. And it's because of opportunistic behavior. Humans do it, all animals do it. It's actually part of survival instinct. Huh. So it's not that you're always having to use it forever. Like, it's not like you're always remoting her.
Right.
It's present, and if something happens, you have something to get her back under control. Okay. Because the other thing is, let's say you're walking with her and a dog just runs up to her off leash out of nowhere.
Right.
Right. Like, and she starts to kick into aggression. Like, that's actually, in her world, that's actually a valid response. Yeah. Because most dogs will perceive threat when a dog charges them. Just like with a human, if somebody were charging at me on the street and I don't know them, I'm going to be like, are you going to try to hurt me? Right. Because dogs live in the kill or be killed type of world. They don't understand that there's laws that protect them, and off-leash laws and all that stuff. Yeah. Right. So if that were to happen, I know I have control over my dog to stop something if needed.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Any other questions or concerns?
Ooh, I don't think so. Have you ever had a dog where it's just like, nope, not taking it?
Yeah. It's rare, but yes. Yeah. I had a pit that I worked with 5 years ago. Really severely reactive dog. And the owner could stop the reactivity. And he was like maxed out 127. But what would happen is he would see a dog, he would blow up. And we did everything, by the way. He'd blow up, he'd stop it. 5 seconds later, another dog would come by, he'd blow up again. Yeah. Okay. So he didn't retain it, but he was fully trained. So he had his dog off leash, and he asked me, he's like, hey Jesse, he's like, I know my dog's reactive. He's like, but he has all this training. Is it wrong of me to take my dog to to a park where it's open space and exercise him. But then if I see somebody, I'll just call my dog and put him on a leash. I said, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Because you're still being responsible.
Right.
He wasn't taking his dog off leash while there's a bunch of other dogs around him. Like he would find a little pocket, throw a ball with his dog, and just be mindful of his environment.
Sure.
So yes, it can happen. It's very rare.
Okay.
The cases that I've had dogs like that are almost always bully type breeds. Pit bulls, bull terriers, Rotties, like very powerful dog breeds.
Yeah.
Okay. But don't let that discourage you. Like again, it's super rare.
Okay.
And then they have the ability to stop the dog. It's just the dog doesn't retain it.
Got it.
That's just which sucks. But
yeah,
ideally we want to correct the dog, and the dog goes like, well, I don't want that to happen again, so I'm not going to lunge again.
Sure.
So, okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, I don't think so. Scheduling I do with Maria, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So she'll reach out to you. She'll send you a breakdown of the programs and the pricing. I'll make a note to her to let her know that you're interested in the payment program.
Okay.
And she'll include that information as well. She'll also include the collar that you'll need. When you get your collar, you'll want to read the manual. I also suggest that you turn it on, fiddle with it. Don't try to use it. But with the remote, it goes up in increments of 1 up to 127. Mm-hmm. So if you're fiddling with the dial and you see it kind of jumps all over the place, like really, 20 to 45, like very easily, you have a lemon. Okay. So then you'll want to return that because it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's very incremental. Okay. And then just let us know. So in case we have to push back, so you don't show up to a class with a lemon and then I'm like, oh crap, we can't do anything because it's not going to work well.
Sure. Do you suggest we not try using it on? I'm just curious to start at 1 and I want to see what it feels like, or just suggest.
Don't do it at 1. You'll have to be around 10 to 15
to feel it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you want to try it on yourself, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
But I would start at 10, not 1, because you're not going to feel anything.
Got it.
And then once you're confirmed, you'll get an email from me with a few videos to watch prior to your lesson to prep you for the lesson. Okay.
Perfect.
But this way, when you show up, we can just jump into training.
Great.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you for your time. I'm excited. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, no, more often than not, we're able to, and I even had some like extreme cases where they were able to socialize them because of how it was done. They just only had like one friend.
Yeah.
So that's more realistic because you would see like your brother's dog, regularly. You would see your parents' dog regularly and all that stuff. So those are more realistic than random dogs on the street.
Cool.
Okay. So it was a pleasure talking to you, Jill. Maria will reach out and then we'll be in touch. Okay.
Thank you so much. You have a good night.
You too. Take care.